So it helps that Dmitry can speak 5 languages.
You come back here, okay? 48, $14,064 for 14 karat gold. Then you have 10 karat gold. I can give you $1,800 for that.
The coin, this coin is the pure gold, right?
So this is $20,900. I'll give you $11 difference, so you can come back to us.
Thank you very much.
Dmitry?
Yes, hi.
I'm Jake.
Hi, how are you?
Very
Nice
nice
to meet you.
to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
And how much do you see in a day? How many people come through here?
In a day, it depends. It could be anywhere from 5 to 50, 70 people a day.
What happens to the gold once you've got it, right? You buy a day's worth of gold. What do you then do with it?
Once we buy gold, let's say we buy, this is about $25,000 worth of gold.
Okay.
Once we buy this gold, we melt it down to a small brick, and then we heavy test it and sell it.
Can I watch you
Sure,
melt it down?
definitely. Sure.
I'd like to see it.
Now most of the jewelry we have is 14 karat.
The nooks and crannies of the gold district are full of places like this. Millions of dollars flowing in and out. Some, like Dimitri's, even have a foundry in the basement.
How are you, my friend? No! Oh my God, you serious?
It's the mayor, this guy.
Please, man, I wanted to melt it. Not ready? Okay.
It's kind of an amazing thing, right? Like, this is, you know, people's memories, their treasured heirlooms. Some of it was in the ground 1,000 years ago, some of it was a pair of earrings 1,000 years ago, and now it's all been melted back down again, and someday it will be somebody else's heirloom. It's crazy how liquid this really is. So, are you sick of gold? I mean, do you still like the look of gold?
I love it.
You do?
I love it, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, definitely. Who doesn't?
The gold that leaves here is recast and reborn as another person's treasure, continuing to make money along the way. Every couple of hours, trillions of US dollars changes hands around the world. All that money used to be backed by gold, but not anymore. Today, our buck is backed by a promise from the US government. The fact that it all works based on trust alone is simply taken for granted.
Hi, good morning.
I'm trusting this driver with my money and my life, right? I'm trusting that he's not going to cheat me. I'm trusting he's going to take the fastest and most efficient route possible. And I'm trusting him not to kill us both. Ooh. That kind of trust is at the heart of the financial world. The whole system is built on the assumption that our cash and our credit cards and even our bank accounts are worth something. But what I want to know is, who's in charge? I've come to Washington, D.C. to meet the head of the entire Fed system.
You know, he's been dealt some of the most difficult cards in the history of finance.
You said that Mr. Bernanke just happens to be the most powerful nerd on the planet.
The Fed that was responsible for this. Sure, the Fed played a role.
Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke is one of the most powerful men in the world when it comes to your money. He holds the reins to our central bank, an institution controlled by both the public and private sector.
Hello, how are you? Good, thank you. Thanks very much for making the time. I know you guys.
What would life be like without the Federal Reserve?
We don't have to speculate. We know what it looked like because there was no Federal Reserve before 1913. During the 19th century, there were periodic financial crises where people would run on the banks and pull out their deposits, where the stock market would crash.
When most of us think of bank runs, we think of the stock market crash of 1929. But in 1907, a massive panic threatened to annihilate the economy. There was nothing the government could do to stop it, until billionaire J.P. Morgan and his rich friends tapped into their personal wealth to bail out the banks.
Which led Congress to say, look, enough is enough. We've got to have a central bank that can manage these crises. And that was the beginning of the process that led to the Federal Reserve.
You're in the Situation Room happening now. We're following breaking news.
Less than 2 years after Chairman Bernanke took office, he was faced with the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression.
In a panic, when people are pulling all their money out of financial institutions, what the central bank does is provide short-term loans which help the banks stabilize. And that's what we did during 2008, 2009.
But what about those who don't agree with the Fed's actions?
They bail out Morgan Stanley and then Goldman Sachs. When I up, who bails me out? No one. And the Federal Reserve. And the fractional banking system. And the Fed.
If you ask most people, I think they would say that the Fed spent a lot of taxpayer money trying to stop the crisis and bailed out banks and that kind of thing. The fact is the Fed doesn't spend government money. What the Fed does is buy and sell assets in the market.
Those assets are U.S. Treasury bonds and government-guaranteed mortgage securities.
Or we make short-term loans, which are then repaid.
Loans repaid with interest.
In the last 3 years, the Fed has given the Treasury $200 billion. That's profit, that's not loss, that's not cost.
While decisions in Washington, D.C. affect the state of the nation's wallet, the Fed's 12 regional banks make sure there's enough physical cash to go around. Whether to fill new orders or replace your old worn-out bills, they call here, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Because when it comes to trusting your money, first appearances mean everything.
There are very particular rules for how we can shoot here. We can't show you the walls, we can't really shoot down the hallways, we have to keep it tight, and there's cameras everywhere. This is an incredibly secure facility.
The BEP fills annual print orders for the Fed. In 2011, that meant a whopping 23 million U.S. bills a day. And each bill gets a serial number and a code that tells which bank is charged for production.
If you look at any bill you have in your pocket, there's a small number and a letter together. Mine says C3. This series says F6. That stands for the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank. And so you know that if the F and the number 6 don't correspond, F is the 6th letter in the alphabet, then that's a fake note.
Although it looks like money as it flies through the presses, it's not official until it's cut, wrapped, and sent to one of the 28 Federal Reserve Operations Centers around the country, where cash deliveries flow in and out by the ton. It's 7 a.m., and I just got dropped off in East Rutherford, New Jersey, at the New York Fed's Currency Operations Center, called EROC.
It's a neighborhood, you know, it looks pretty ordinary, except that in and out every day flows billions of dollars in cash. It looks like maybe a prison, could be a high school.
But what it really is one of the world's largest above-ground vaults.